As you probably know, I am a big fan of 90s cartoons and just the 90s in general. But cartoons weren't the only thing taking over TV. There was also 90s sitcoms. Now, as many cartoons there were even more sitcoms. And for this, I'm not even gonna say that we have the best era of sitcoms. The 70s and the 80s paved the way and they had some great ones, and even now to the 2000s still do as well. But since I grew up in the 90s, that's what I connect with the most, and I'm hoping that a lot of you do as well. And I'm sure you guys know the drill. We've got a bunch of shows. From shows like Fresh Prince, Friends, Family Matter, Seinfeld, The Simpsons, Boy Meets World, Sister Sister, Smart Guy, Will and Grace, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Clarissa Explains It All, Moesha, Hanging with the Coopers, The Jamie Foxx Show, The Wayans Brothers Show, Martin, Saved by the Bell, Full House, Roseanne, The Nanny, Mad About You, Everybody Loves Raymond, which I don't think everyone loves Raymond, Cousin Skeeter, Pete and Pete, Keenan and Kel, all that. Honestly, we could do this forever. This list is like extremely long. You guys get the point. 90s sitcoms were of the plenty and amazing. Now, as you know, most sitcoms are usually based on families and comedic moments. But there were a few shows that pushed past the boundaries of comedy and took on a more heavier subject. There were also a lot of shows that kinda don't hold up today.
Baby, you're not gonna pull Lorraine and Bobbit, are you?
$7,000 a month and I told you fucking trannies out there. I don't fucking think so.
And then there were a few shows that allowed the stars in them now either have kind of lost their minds.
I thought the bitch was white!
Or they just did a lot of rapey shit. Now, a lot of the sitcoms did try and take on heavier subject matters, but most of them would take on a more lighter tone. There were a lot of shows that handled it well. Roseanne was one of those when they handled an abusive episode. But in my childhood, there was one episode specifically that stuck with me even to this day, that if I watch the clips now, I still get teary-eyed. And that's the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, the father episode. In my opinion, that show was always great. It had great life lessons. There was a lot of heavier tones and a lot of heavier subject matters that happened in a lot of the episodes. But the father episode kind of hit me the hardest. Not only was it well written, but Will's performance was amazing. So the episode starts with his father coming back to visit Will, and Will finally dropping his guard and them reconnecting. Turns out, his dad gives him a lot of hope and tells him to go on a trip with him. They can travel around the world as he's a trucker. But as you know, his dad goes back to his old routines, and right before he leaves, without telling his son, Will, goodbye, which ultimately leads to one of the most iconic, heart-crushing moments in 90s history.
I'm sorry. If there was something that I
Hey,
could
you know
do.
what? You ain't got to do nothing, Uncle Phil. Hey, ain't like I'm still 5 years old, Ain't like I'm gonna be sitting up every night asking my mom, when's daddy coming home, Who needs him? Hey, he wasn't there to teach me how to shoot my first basket, but I learned, didn't I? Hey, I got pretty damn good at it too, didn't I,
Yeah,
Uncle Phil?
you did.
Got through my first day without him, right? I learned how to drive, I learned how to shave, I learned how to fight without him. I had 14 great birthdays without him. He never even sent me a damn card. To hell with him! I ain't need him then and I don't need him now.
Will.
Now, you know what, Uncle Phil? I'm gonna get through college without him. I'm gonna get a great job without him. I'm gonna marry me a beautiful honey, and I'm having me a whole bunch of kids. I'm gonna be a better father than he ever was. And I sure as hell don't need him for that, because ain't a damn thing he could ever teach me about how to love my kids. How come he don't want me, man?
A lot of 90s sitcoms really shaped me from my childhood to the adult that I am today, and it paved the way for the new sitcoms we have now. I know I've said this over and over again, but I'm really glad I got to grow up in the 90s. Thanks for watching.
Every day's another lesson in my head.